this grey one could go here, and then they could stay like that. And then this on this wall on its own. I like that. So we have blue in here already. I've actually been thinking about these pieces as sort of films, and each washcloth is the frame of a film. And as you follow the sculpture around through the different frames, it's like you're moving through a landscape or over a body or something. And in the way it relates to film is like a washcloth in a way or a towel is like activated by the environment around it. It's how it functions. It absorbs the water from the body and then sends it out into space, or absorbs it, and like it acts as a kind of a station, and then the water leaves from there into the atmosphere or whatever. And so I sort of think about the washcloths in that way, as like, which is kind of like film in a way. It's like they're projecting something out into the world. And something that I also sort of like about the washcloth and how it functions is how it's like a truthful thing. It's like it has a function, and and I really like using this thing that has a function in a pictorial way, because function is like a sort of a truth. Like if something does something, it's like a reality, a truth. I just had a show in London, and there was a shape, this exact shape in that show, but the difference here is these two painted squares, the grey painted squares are part of this sculpture. So I feel like it's like the first one as a development of that work. And I had worked on rolling with a dry roller some paint onto the surface of the washcloths and in my studio before, and I'd never used that, and it's sort of been around, and I'd made prints with washcloths before, and so it was just an interesting, for me, way of bringing in colour and paint into the sculptures. The last show I did was all completely black, which was exciting for me because it was very close to drawing. They look kind of like drawings, felt pen drawings on the wall. I've not really used any other type of fabric ever in my sculptures. It's always been towels, washcloths, or hand towels. And I've recently been using hand towels, and I like how each different towel has its own different use. And lately I've been thinking a lot about the hand towel as it's kind of like a symbol for action of the hands, to touch and use the hands and dry the hands. And so I'm sort of at the moment thinking a lot about that in relationship to sculpture and how sculpture use the hands, and the hand towel as kind of a signifier or a sign of the hands, and sort of working with that idea in a way, sort of in thinking about that. I was working with soda cans and wrapping images of a face around the soda can. I think from the soda cans and this idea of images and liquid and moving through a way of moving through a sculpture and moving through over a body, and so that's how the washcloths came about. And then sort of all these other ideas sort of started to develop from that material, and it just sort of grew really, like organically. With the washcloths, it became really interesting to me because when I cut the centres of the black ones away, they were almost the same as they were when they were a solid black washcloth, because it sort of represents sort of like a maze or something. And so you have this intertwining of a pictorial space and the space within and around the object. So I'm sort of interested in that, the sort of intertwining of imagination and reality and things like that, and sort of taking desire and passing desire through colour and making desire this kind of pure, sort of colourful, kind of romantic thing in a way. What happened with this one is I was working on it it happened sort of very organically, but I noticed the red washcloth with the orange on it that really sort of seemed to sort of be giving off heat or something. So it was sort of moving through this kind of hot and cold kind of sort of getting inside of the process of the towel activating and drying and transferring water from itself into space. And and just sort of that sort of almost a magical in a way sort of idea of desire and stuff, something like that. So this is about the transition from sort of the light to the land in a way, sort of like the before and after of the washcloth being used. It's sort of like, you move through this process of being on the land and then using the washcloth, and then the sunlight is drying it. So it's sort of almost like putting a landscape inside the washcloths in a way and opening up. That's what's happening with this piece. I mean, it's sort of like a cyclical thing of, it's like time. I think about that idea of time and stuff with the washcloths. As they get used and used, they become black. And so I was sort of making a shift and creating a shift and marking a specific point in that time. And then I felt when I made this work, actually, it was one of the first ones I made out of all the new colour ones. And even though they're sort of geometric in a way, they sort of still have a lot of character. I mean, I don't know. It's so difficult. This one, I was thinking about the grey as a shadow, and sort of, in a way, using the shadow to sort of open up the sort of light space that was in the works. So the grey is shifted off centre, so it has that sort of feeling of a shadow. You know how you would draw a shadow in a cartoon or something. It's just drawing of a shadow in a way with a washcloth. But then I had this opening at the bottom where I felt like that the inside space of this work, it was almost like a drain, like where the water could come out from. So it was putting this imagined idea of water in this imagined idea of light. And then something that was interesting that happened with this piece, I thought, was that when it's on the wall, it sort of looks like it's floating. So you have that other relationship to water with it as well, because it looks like it's like some sort of strange sort of boat or something that's floating. So there's just different ways of thinking about water and shadow and light.